So I had seeds found in my septic tank that I couldn't quite explain. Super strange. And then was having, some rats and mice up in the attic.
Mm-hmm.
And once again found seeds. I was like, where are these seeds coming from? And I found just on Friday night, the fuckers I bought the house from had a whole Tupperware of bird seed.
Say that again. Tupperware? You say Tupperware?
Did I say Tupperware?
You said Tupperware.
Well, Tupperware.
Tupperware. He said Tupperware. We got that.
Tupperware.
Yeah, all right.
So in the Tupperware is... Oh, man. All right, we ripping? Oh, we're on? All right, let's rip it. Well, welcome. What day is today? Monday in October from Whispers from the Crawl. Once again, this is Brandon. This is Jacob Marr.
Yep.
We have been getting absolutely pounded by phone calls this morning from people all over Whatcom and Skagit County who...
No heats. No heat calls.
Furnaces not turning on, things not clicking, weird smells coming out.
Water issues.
Yeah. So we decided to, rather than talk about what we've been doing in our business, we thought we would rip a podcast episode just saying some common things we're coming across, things you can know. And then what we're going to take is hopefully some little tidbits of clips so we can help people know what to look for and call us about. So I'll start off with the first one. Heat's kind of the most important. It's that time of year.
Yep.
What have we been getting all morning?
Yeah. Get your system maintained before it breaks. I mean, I think that's the synopsis. And we preach that all day long, but until you have it break and it's right in front of you and it's your problem, you don't really connect those dots. So most of the problems, if not almost all of the problems that we're finding in the last 2 weeks are all preventable.
Yep.
All preventable stuff. And it's because the furnaces, I mean, we've had the first couple cold mornings, so it is the first time that they're kicking on in well over 6 months.
Yep.
So just little things that people are ignoring and coming back to get them.
It's kind of human nature. I don't expect anyone to turn on their furnace or care about it till it's time. I thought the same thing. It was, I think it was 44 degrees on Saturday night, so I knew we were going to come into this week. What can people do? Their furnace doesn't come on, order of operations to at least test the small things first.
Yeah, easiest thing, and everybody tells you the same thing, always check the filter.
Yep.
Can't be understated because on any system, that filter could be tripping a safety switch if it's overheating. So if you're plugged up, you're not moving the right amount of air, you could be overheating. If you're on a ductless system and your filters are plugged, those need to be cleaned, not changed.
Yep.
And if you're on a ductless system, what you'll notice is it's just not working like it used to. It just can't produce the amount of heating and cooling if those filters aren't cleaned. So you'll notice a lack of performance. It might be tripping and overheating. You might get error codes. So that's number one. Another thing to just check, make sure the breaker's on.
Yep.
It could be that somebody, whether it was you or a family member, turned the breaker off when the last heating cycle happened in spring. So making sure that breaker's on is a big deal.
Yep.
Making sure that your thermostat actually is displaying. If that thermostat is blank, that's a clue. That could be that there's a safety switch that's tripped, like an overflow switch or something else. So if that thermostat is on, it doesn't mean that you're out of the waters, but it's a good indicator to tell you if there's an underlying issue.
How it works, you give our office a call, and basically we start triaging requests based on emergency basis, or if you're a Mars Advantage Plan customer. Basically, we'll come out, we'll send out a technician based on what you're describing, and we'll just start with a diagnostic fee, and that basically gives them time to go through the entire system top to bottom and figure out what's going, and they'll come back to you with either a simple repair or a more complicated repair, but we're doing pretty much same day. If you called in, we're coming in this afternoon.
Yeah. You want to know the craziest, least preventable one that we found so far is bird nests.
I was just about to say blocked venting is
blocked venting. Blocked venting's a tough one because you'll get an error code for a pressure switch typically, and the customer, I mean, that could be a multitude of things. So until a technician shows up, but we're finding those from spring when that furnace never ran, birds have made their way into the flue pipe, causing a blockage. So it can be all sorts of things causing problems.
All sorts of crazy things. We had one furnace last week in an attic. He opened it up and it was a horizontal unit. I've never seen so many dead ladybugs in my entire life. And they were just all over all the hot appliances inside the furnace. So, nope, it's true. If none of the simple things, turn it back on, give us a call. We'll come out, get you straight right away there. One of the other ones that we're kind of getting into fall, and like you said, filter, we should talk about this, both on the idea of duct cleaning and then also in relation to how frequently you should be changing your filter.
Yeah. Well, duct cleaning is one where I think people in general seem to think that duct cleaning is a scam, and that's just not true. So there's two different ways to clean duct cleaning, and like on orientation day when we get new people, I explain to them there's two ways. There's the right way and the wrong way, and the people that have gotten the bad reputation have just been doing it wrong with the wrong machinery, the wrong equipment. With what we have, which is a big truck-mounted, super high-powered vacuum, negative air machine, we recommend having your ductwork done every 5 years. Like 5 years, have a look at it. It may be that you can get to 10. So by no means is it something that you need to be doing yearly, even, every 2 years. Having it looked at every 5. And as a part of our maintenance, when we do your furnace, heat pump, any sort of equipment on a duct system, we will be looking for that. So we'll try to clue you guys in on when we see that there's a lot of dust build up inside that ductwork. What really happens is it causes your filter to plug up quicker. So it can lead to no heat calls, lead to overheats, lead to all sorts of problems. But also, if you're just a person that has allergies, just likes having nice, clean air inside the house, the more buildup that you have in that duct system, the more that's going to get around your filter. Filters are not perfect, and filters, contrary to popular belief, they're not designed to really upgrade your indoor air unless it's an upgraded MERV 11 4-inch filter or a electronic air cleaner. Really, the primary purpose of any filter is to keep that equipment clean. So, and most filters are somewhere in the realm of 80% to 90% efficient, which means 10% of the air is going right by them. 10 to 20%. So, and then once that equipment gets dirty, then your equipment starts to have performance issues, your utility bills go up. It just kind of keeps escalating from there. So, from a holistic standpoint, trying to get eyes on that and get it all cleaned up is it's a great way to go. And when we do those duct cleanings, we also clean the blower wheel on that system and clean the coil. So we're not just cleaning the duct, we're cleaning everything that's inside of that airstream, everything. So it's a good way to just get the whole thing back to square one.
I like to talk to people, and I don't know the stat off the top of mind, but I think the average person swapping homes in Whatcom County, it's like every 7 years or 8 years was the average. 7 years, I think. The way I look at duct cleaning, it's not something most people think about or comes top to mind. Whenever we go in there, we find all the dust, debris,
pet hair,
skin dandruff, everything from previous homeowners. So,
and they're gnarly. I mean, we look at the before and after pictures. That's also a part of our doing the duct cleaning is room by room. Very thorough room by room before and after pictures. We want people to understand that this is real. Here are the results. And when we look at the before pictures, I mean, they are gross. They are gross, especially if your older house in Bellingham, you've got return airs in the floor. I mean, you're going to have everything in there, every crumb, every piece of pet hair.
And that's what I try and get to show people is we go way beyond what you can even see from looking down into the supply registers. Like you mentioned, the vacuum we have set up on a truck is the equivalent to, it's like 360 or 380 times your standard shop vac.
It's a lot.
If you've ever played with a shop vac, you know how powerful that is. And then, a room by room before and after picture that shows all the crazy contaminants. We pull everything from old pencils to bottle caps to kids' toys. We found money in vents, like anything you could possibly think of that finds its way past a grill over 60 years of a homeowner. That's my best advice is if you bought a home recently, you should definitely consider getting all the crud out from the previous homeowners. It'll truly shock you how much comes out in bags.
When we first started duct cleaning, One of my neighbors, we did his house as one of our test houses. We did mine too. And he told me later, he said, I cannot believe the smell that we've
Difference.
been living with,
Yep.
that once it was gone, we really noticed it. He said, we noticed it when we moved in, but then we lived here for 3 years and we had never gotten it cleaned from the previous owners. He's like, the smell from
Yep.
the previous tenants just lingered.
Yep.
Once you guys did that, it was gone.
I just took a call last week from a homeowner who knew that their cat was peeing in the vents, and he's like, "What can I do?" I was like, "There's certain things we can and can't do, but we can definitely help with that a little bit." And did a full sanitization with a liquid agent to clean out everything. So, no, it's one of the most unthought of things in comparison to your equipment as far as the on-off heat. Strongly recommended if you purchased a house in the last 4 years, or if you have pets or kids, everything like that. So. Yeah, definitely. That's one of the more prevalent things. While we're on the subject, almost nobody knows what the concept of duct sealing is.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Duct leakage is a huge energy bill.
Understated.
Allergies, dust. It's a culprit of a lot of different things. And most people don't know. And I'll say this too. 10 years ago, we as a company probably weren't as good about knowing. So people that have been customers for years, we've adapted. We've got new technology. We can test for these things. And what we find on average, anywhere from 20 to 40% of these duct systems, they're leaking right into the crawl space. So 20 to 40% of the air that you're paying to heat your home is going right into the crawl space. And that's common. Those are common numbers. So getting that sealed up, is going to help immediately with the utility bills. It's going to have an immediate impact. And B, we're not going to be pulling air in from places we shouldn't. So in most houses in our area, we've got a return air that's up in an attic. Okay. Just one example. We don't want to be pulling attic air into the house at all. Not only is it hotter, colder, not the envelope temperature, but we've got contaminants, dust, humidity, all sorts of things that we don't want inside the airstream or introduced. So duct sealing on top of duct cleaning, those two things, getting that done to the infrastructure on the system, really, really quick way to make a huge impact. And with duct sealing, most people in our area are either on Cascade Natural Gas, which is a $500 instant rebate on the duct sealing, or they're on Puget Sound Energy with an electric furnace or a heat pump. And that's $1,250. So $1,250 right off the bill.
It's one of my favorite bang for buck offering that you can do in your home. Anyone who gets to see ductwork up close, there's so many imperfections. And that's what, once again, people don't get to see until it's kind of put in their face. When you tally up all the imperfections of sheet metal work across a 4,000 or 3,000 square foot home, it's
all the little holes. And when we do our testing, we'll hook the machine up and we'll know exactly how much air we're leaking before we seal and exactly how much after. And the homeowner gets a report that shows them the exact improvement percentage that we made on that system, which is a big deal. We want people to see exactly that ROI.
Yep. We want to create ROI. The reporting is incredibly impressive when it shows that, before we hook our system up, it looks like we're leaking, 215 CFM, which is the equivalent of 215 basketballs of air leaving your system every minute. We're able to get it down to a reasonable measure of, sub 20 or sub 30. And people ask, am I going to see this on my utility bill? And it's like, it's not going to be a direct proportion. You're not going to see a perfect 31% reduction.
No, absolutely not.
But you're absolutely going to get more airflow to that further bedroom that's on the other side of the house. You're definitely going to feel it in different rooms. Your utility bill will drop. And like you said, with local rebates going on right now, it's almost too good to be true. If you have an electric furnace or a heat pump, definitely inquire about it, because it's $1,250 back from PSC day one. Like you said, with Cascade Gas, if you have a gas furnace, $500 off the project right then and there. And then we do the rest as far as getting results that are sufficient. So
and every one of these, when we started doing AeroSeal, I was the first house that we did. Huge,
my favorite story.
Huge impact. So I had a brand new all steel duct system put in by us, and we sealed it. Like I know that we sealed it, because
this is the best part. You watched your top pick talent do the system at the boss's house.
Yeah.
And then we still had a leakage of what percent? I remember.
Oh, it was like 15%.
I think it was 19.
10, yeah, it was high. And then I could, on all steel duct systems, you're going to have higher leakage because there's just more connection points and there's more failure points. But I was just shocked. I was shocked at the amount. And And I did notice that my back office wasn't getting airflow, and it's the farthest run from
Yep.
the air handler. When we did that, it fixed that immediate impact, and I've been comfortable in my office. I spend a lot of time in there.
Yeah.
So
And we don't talk about the less than tangible point, but having professionals examine your ductwork from front to back,
yeah,
we always find stuff that's separate to what we're going out there to do anyway. So yes, we're going to clean the system. Yes, we're going to seal it. And I'll be darned, we find a duct that's bent in half, cutting airflow off to the kid's bedroom.
or disconnected.
Yeah, fully
Fully disconnected.
How many would you say we find disconnected in a
Oh,
week?
it's probably 1 out of every 2 jobs. We find either just a duct disconnected or barely together, and that has a huge impact.
It does.
Big impact, because it's not just that one duct run. Maybe it's one of 12, and you think, well, it's a 12th of the air. Well, it affects every other run down the line, so it's a domino effect,
man.
and it's a big problem.
The pictures blow my mind. I call them a smoking gun. And if I get to go to a homeowner and say, we found the reason you're not getting any heat to your kitchen all winter, and it's such a cool game changer. And they're like, that's why. It's like, yes, we found the culprit. So definitely inquire, regardless what type of system you have. If you have ductwork at your home, give us a call and we can evaluate cleaning and if sealing is necessary. One of the other things that we've kind of been going over, you and I both have our own stories about this. We're heading into winter. One thing that's never thought about is crawl space vent covers. So the stupid little white or gray styrofoam blocks you see blocking the vents of a foundation. If you know what they're about, you know why they're vital. If you have no idea what we're talking about, this conversation's for you.
Yeah. So we run into this a lot, not only on the heating side with frozen drain lines, but on the plumbing side. We get frigid temperatures here. It's not all the time, but we do get below 32 for a significant period of the year. And your crawl space needs to ventilate. If it doesn't ventilate, you get all sorts of problems.
Humidity.
You get trapped humidity.
Yep.
You start to get mold. You get all sorts of problems that you don't want. So we want the crawl space to breathe. Everybody in their crawl space, well, most crawl spaces, especially modern house, will have the crawl vent covers with the screens on them.
Yep.
And what we're talking about are the styrofoam plugs that go in those screens. And starting like right about now, October, what day is it today? The 6th?
Yep.
Okay, October 6th, it's perfect time to get those put in. Get those put in, have them in there until about early March.
I think they're $1 or $2 a piece.
They're not cheap. Bad. They're cheap insurance to make sure that, especially in our area, when that northeastern gets blowing. And houses up in Linden, Sumas, anywhere that's exposed to that wind, it's the wind exposure that's really going to cause problems. That'll rip through that crawl space. It will freeze things that you did not know it was possible to freeze, and it can cause, I've seen it cause $30,000 worth of water damage. I've seen it total a house before. It's a big deal.
My experience, and this is a story that I don't tell too often, but this is exactly what happened to me. Was living in a townhouse development in Bellingham, and funny enough, I had a date that night. I had a girl who I was seeing who was coming over, and I was going to make her dinner, everything. And I got a call from a neighbor saying that they could hear water, but they couldn't figure out where it is. And I was like, what do you mean you can hear it? And like, we can hear it in the walls, but can't see anything. And I said, okay, sounds serious. I'll be right over. I walk over, and I'm sure enough, glancing at everything, can't see anything. And then I look under in the crawl space entry door. It is 3 feet deep of water in the foundation, 3 feet deep. And instantly I'm like, oh my Lord. Start going hunting for the shutoff, find it. And it was a 1/2-inch copper line that was uninsulated. And like you said, there was no vent covers on the foundation. Wind is howling through.
Ruptured.
It was like middle of November. It just had water stagnant in it. So it just burst. And then it was like the double fault code, the way the building was designed. I can't believe it was as bad as it was. There was a sump pump at the bottom. The outlet had tripped. This is reason number 2 to always call professional, have an electrician check all your stuff annually. So the sump pump had tripped, and it was about 4 feet lower than the rest of the foundation with an interior wall. I had to jump in with my, I think I was wearing shorts, rubber boots, a t-shirt. And like I said, I have a date, a gal coming in like 30 minutes to have dinner with. And I jump in this foundation to go find this sump pump and see if I can get it turned on. It was too late, completely flooded this person's 4-story basement. And like you said, it was, I remember the insurance, we paid the deductible, but the total tally was like $40K, all nice hardwood floors. And then this haunted me to the day I live. He had his dad's, all of his World War II memorabilia throughout this
no.
basement, destroyed, absolutely destroyed. I estimate with it being 3 feet deep, this pipe had to have been running for at least 4 hours.
Yeah.
Like it was a half-inch line. It wasn't drastic, but it had to have been 4+
But it was
hours.
fully ruptured. Yeah.
Fully ruptured, and it was haunting for us to basically have to explain to the homeowner, if you would have covered the foundation, there's a strong chance this wouldn't have happened. The second is just old building. This is why we do a lot of PEX plumbing. We have professionals to help if you have vulnerable systems where we could have issues like this. The point is we want to inspect houses before emergencies come up, whether it's maintenance on the furnace, the entire complete home plumbing inspection, complete home electrical, because the story just stays in my mind forever. What just a horrific day, both for.
Well, and to tee up on that too, a lot of people in our area do have sump pumps, right?
Yep.
Because I don't know if you know this, it rains here like a lot.
Grade problems, all the above.
Yeah. So one of the ways to deal with that is, well, there's two ways to deal with water getting into the crawl space. One is proper drainage on the perimeter,
Yep.
which sometimes is achievable, sometimes it's not. And then the backup is a sump pump. And a sump pump, what it's designed to do is be at the low spot in your crawl space, take all the water that infiltrates in the crawl space and eject it out.
Yep.
And what happens a lot of times, people don't check them. People don't know that they really need to. Either the pump fails or, to your point,
it's the outlet.
An outlet trips, something small.
Brutal.
And for people that are in a really critical spot, there's another piece of advice, and you can look into these, but it's a battery backup sump pump. And all it is like a car battery that gets mounted in a weatherproof case, and it's a second pump. So if yours fails and you don't have a way of knowing that it failed, that second pump will kick in. Or if you lose power, like there's a lot of people that have sump pumps. If they lose power for a week, that's a big, big problem. So a battery backup system, something, an alarm. They make alarms for your sump pump so you know that you have a problem, same as your septic. Invaluable. Invaluable. And a lot of people don't even know.
Not until it's too late.
Not until it's too late.
And then at that point, someone becomes educated for it's painful. I hate seeing these kind of scenarios day after day, but this is why we do this. We'll take the time to chat about this kind of stuff. Jake, if you could warn people for who have heat pumps going into winter, things they should know, because we're just kind of getting the calls.
What to expect. Yes. So if you have a heat pump, the biggest thing I want people to understand with a heat pump is you're not going to run it the same way that you ran your gas furnace. So if you just had a heat pump put in, or you're thinking about a heat pump, or you have ductless, things I want you to know. With an old gas furnace, you can have it 60 degrees at night and then turn it to 70. And in the matter of an hour, you're probably going to get up to that 70-degree temperature. With a heat pump, it just doesn't work like that. They don't have the recovery that a furnace does. So your best bet with a heat pump typically will be a 4-degree setback at night, like maximum. So maybe set it to 66, 65. And the best thing you can do is set the temperature and leave it there. The thing that kills heat pump performance is up, down, a crazy thermostat schedule. Believe me, if your heat pump is running and you just keep it a consistent temperature, you will save more energy than if you're the person that's dialing it down at night, turning it way back up. And for a lot of you, you don't know that you have a backup strip heat kit inside of that air handler for your heat pump. And when you jack the temperature super far up, it kicks those strip heat kits on, and it draws 4 times the amount of power that the heat pump itself does. So running it the right way, again, having your filter checked, make sure you're moving the right airflow, and just setting it and forgetting it, getting in that habit. Big deal. Another thing to look out for, sometimes people don't know this, the outdoor unit of your heat pump will produce water in the winter. And what's happening is it's extracting heat from the outdoor air, and it's called latent heat. There's heat in the outdoor air even when it's negative 13 degrees, okay? So it's able to take that heat and bring it inside. It will need to go through a defrost cycle, just like your freezer does. When it does that, it's going to shed water off that outdoor unit, and there's going to be a pool of water. And sometimes it's going to freeze, okay? So we get calls all the time. There's a frozen puddle around my outdoor unit. Is that normal?
You should tell them about the noise factor too.
Yes. During a defrost, the noise can increase. And a lot of the reason for that is just because you're not hearing the fan run on the outdoor unit anymore. So you're really hearing this compressor that's running, and you never would hear just the compressor run without the fan normally.
Yep.
So to some people, it's alarming. It's just a different noise.
Yep.
So just know, in general, those weird noises, the puddles outside, it's all normal. It's all a part of a heat pump and how it operates.
Yep. Oh, I'd agree with that. And then we sometimes get discerned the difference between ice buildup that is acceptable versus too much.
Yeah.
That's the type of thing. If you have questions about that, you can give us a call. A simple cell phone photo.
Shoot us a picture.
Yep. Quick cell phone picture, and we can get an idea if there's a more severe problem going on. Or
Do
if it's
not
just in
ever do what we see a lot of times, which is take a screwdriver and try to chip the ice off. Okay. It's not your grandpa's freezer. We don't want to do that.
Yep.
And I have seen it now probably 10 plus times where people put a hole in the coil because they're trying to chip ice off and
trying to do good.
And the reality is the equipment does not need you to do that. The equipment, if it's working properly, will auto defrost. It knows when it's time.
Yep.
And it's not going to cause any problems. So
Nope, totally agree. On the concept of freezing, we talked about a little bit about freezing pipe I dealt with. Hose bibs are a big issue for most people who don't know how to operate them in winter. Let's talk about precautions, things to do, not do, and how a burst pipe happens.
Yeah. So big thing, 2 different types of hose bibs out there. You've got the standard old style hose bib, and you've got frost free.
Mm-hmm.
And frost free hose bibs are basically a hose bib that has an extra layer of copper. So if it does burst internally, you're not going to get that thing rupturing all over your crawl space or in your walls. So the majority of the houses built beyond the year 2000, let's say, I actually don't know when they started using these, but probably around then.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe in the 90s. They're going to have a frost-free hose bib. That does not mean that they can't rupture, and that does not mean that you are okay to not put covers on your hose bib. So things you're going to want to do, if you have a shutoff valve for the hose bib, shutting the water off and putting the cover on, great things to do. If you don't have a shutoff valve, which is going to be most people are not going to have a shutoff valve just for winterizing. But if you don't, getting the styrofoam covers, again, they're probably $10 to get the gasketed styrofoam covers that you can just zip right on the hose bibs. Huge deal. If you were to call us out to have a hose bib put in, have one of our journeyman plumbers come out, you're probably looking at about $500-$600 to have us cut the wall open, replace the hose bib, do everything necessary with a new frost-free. So it's a big deal.
It is a big deal, and it's always the simplest thing that gets people. So the idea of if you have a master shutoff, shutting it off and then opening the one outside to let it fully drain so you have no water pressure built inside. Like you said, not everyone has that, but if you do, sometimes a little air can help clear the line.
Kind of like your sprinkler system. It's off topic, but if you have a sprinkler system, getting the water out of that sprinkler system is a big deal before we get to our freezing temps. So you can call a landscaper. They know what you're talking about when you say, come winterize my irrigation system. They're just going to blow it out with air. That's really it. And then make sure that it can't come back on. I actually need to do that this weekend. I haven't done mine yet.
Well, tip of advice for anyone, if you have a mini compressor, have you put a little electrical tape on the end, thing works like a charm. So you give us a call. We're always happy to help, but there's little tricks you can do before calling us out, and you'll have, it's very visual. You can see that it's working or not. So pipe insulation, that's one that's a tough one. It'd be a real old house for it to not be insulated whatsoever, but once again,
we see it a lot. We see it a lot. And that's going to be one where you should probably have your whole house evaluated. A lot of the older houses, especially where we live, to your point, they just don't have adequate insulation. The best thing you could ever do for actual water lines is get them up in the insulation in the crawl space. So if you have a crawl space inside of that barrier, closer to the subfloor. And so when you look at how new houses are plumbed, that's exactly what's going on. None of that piping is sticking down below that belly of the insulation. So, but something to keep in mind.
There's new practices, supplies, materials. We have PEX lines for vulnerable areas, but no, I would agree. It's something to kind of keep in mind.
Oh, and heat tape. Heat tape's a great product. I just want to touch on that in a couple regards. So if you have a high efficiency gas furnace, that means you also have a condensate line. And all it is really just a water line. It's a byproduct of that machine running. It's going to produce water in the winter. When we get usually 15 degrees, when we hit 15 degrees, we know that the majority of our calls that day are going to be frozen condensate lines. Couple things you can do. One, we can maybe bring that condensate line somewhere where it won't freeze. That's an option, but that would be us evaluating the system and doing something with that.
Yep.
The other option is heat tape, which is basically just a tape that we plug into an outlet and we zip tie it to the actual condensate drain line. And it's got a little thermometer on the end. And when it gets below that 32-degree mark, it kicks on and it trickles just enough heat in that tape line to keep that thing warm and keep it from freezing. So another little key point, if you're doing heat tape on a drain line, it's a different type of heat tape that you need. It's not going to be the stuff that you get at Home Depot.
No,
and there's
way
a
too
problem.
high.
Yeah, there's a problem with that. If it's a line that doesn't have water in it all the time, so an actual water line, it will melt through it. So you got to make sure you get the right stuff. If you have questions on that, you can contact us, email us. We can send you a link to the right one.
You got any what I call backwoods tricks for people who do have a frozen condensate line? We typically relay
how
this
to get it unfrozen.
We all have our own stories of ones we've come across, but
best way that I've found is if you find where it goes outside, there's going to be a little icicle. So you'll be able to tell right away where that line is. If you can find where that drain line is going, wrap it in a towel, get some boiling water in a pan, and then pour it on that towel. And that heat's going to help, it's going to help loosen that plug and dislodge it. The longer, harder way is a heat gun. And it just depends on how far back that freeze goes. Because if you are up in Linden or up in Sumas and that drain line is coming out the north side of your house, you're already at a disadvantage. It's the wind chill. It's the wind chill that gets up into those pipes that causes them to freeze. And like I said, even 20 degrees, we really don't see them start to freeze. That 15-degree mark happens. It'll be almost every call we run.
Yeah,
almost
like you
every
said,
call.
a lot of prone areas. See a lot of houses around the ocean where they got swirling air, and like you said, I think the towel trick is my favorite too. It seems to do the job.
It works.
Worst case scenario, you get a long screwdriver to help at least get the end part out if you can. So that'll come up quite a bit. Drainage for downspouts and avoiding crawl space flooding.
Yes, it all ties into that whole concept. Let's not get water in our crawl space. It's a bad place for it. So we talked about sump pumps earlier. Sump pumps are like a way to deal with water getting in the crawl space. It's kind of, in my opinion, it's a last resort. We don't want to have a sump pump. So if you have proper drainage, in theory, you shouldn't need one. So perimeter drains, making sure your downspouts are plugged is a big one.
Angled away from the home.
Especially in fall. We're getting to the season where all the downspouts are going to start plugging with leaves and debris. The cottonwood trees are just going off right now, and it'll cause problems.
I would even warn people too, if you have it pointing directly down at your own foundation. That's a common cheap building trick that you'll see. And they don't have a 90-degree angle at the bottom where it's actually directing the water. They just have them shooting right down. It will go to the lowest point. So yeah, I'd agree. That's something to be wary of. Be smart about it. There's lots of companies in town that do gutters, roofing, everything on that line of sight that can help. But
best thing you can do as a homeowner, if you're willing and able, if you're not, call us, but go into the crawl space once every 6 months. Go there at the beginning of fall, go there at the end of winter. That's the best thing you could ever do. You're going to catch problems. Okay, I have a really nice crawl space. I went down there 2 weeks ago, and I had a loose connection on my well line where it comes up into the house. So not a lot of water, but like water there. I caught it early. Didn't turn into a big deal, but just doing an inspection. And that's a really big deal. I'll tell you one more horror story that I have.
I love a good crawl space.
Water damage. We had customers, and they have there's a stretch of houses in Cordata area, and they have radiant systems, and all of the radiant plumbing lines are actually in the ceiling. Okay. So already not something that we really see. I think there was a builder and the builder was from California.
I was just going to say common
Okay.
in California.
Yes. So the builder was from California, didn't quite comprehend that, the attic is the coldest part of your house when it's winter. Like it is freezing cold up in those attics. So it was still buried under the insulation and all that. But what had happened is it was a retirement community. These people lived in Arizona during the winter. You can see where this is going. They left and didn't winterize that system, did nothing. And they turned the set temperature down to like 50 or something like that. Well, they were gone for 3 months. And when they came back, they came back, and it must have happened like a week prior. The entire thing was flooded.
Yep.
All of the ceiling was down.
Yep.
All of the wet insulation, wet ceiling, all their belongings ruined. We're talking big deal. All of that preventable for 2 reasons. One, don't ever put water lines in an attic if you can help it. It's a horrible place for water lines. There are some times where you have to, but in general, like we would never, ever design a radiant heat system that requires us to run everything through the attic.
Yep.
So that's 1. 2, making sure to winterize. If you're going to leave for an extended period of time, let's maybe get the water out of those lines, same way we would with the sprinkler.
Yep.
So that's what happened. It ruptured.
Yeah, no, 100%. That is truly, it gives me nightmares every single time I see one of the attic failures.
It was an actual war zone inside that house. I will never forget that.
Yep. And sometimes there's secret, like the one I told you about. It was a recent remodel where they went from 1 sink vanity in a bathroom to 2, and there was a little stop valve in between the walls that had been leaking for about a week. Once again, $35K in damage, not found until they found the pool of water at the bottom of the house. So definitely be wary of your plumbing systems. Give us a call for anything water related. We're only in October, but I can already tell, like, we're getting into storm season pretty quick here. It's generator time.
Yeah,
we want to talk about them
too. A lot of people have generators. I don't know of anybody that is good at doing yearly maintenance on them. I think it is so, of all the systems that we have.
True.
People neglect all systems, but generators, I think, is one that, like, they think that once it's set, they can just forget it and maybe put a new battery in. That is not what you want to do, especially for, an actual standby generator, your Generac, your Honeywell, Carrier, all these standby generators. They need oil changes. They need belts to be looked at. They have to look at the electrical system.
Yep.
Having a certified dealer go through that, it's kind of a big deal. It's going to cost you some money, probably between $300 and $500 to have that done. Totally worth it.
Yep.
You want it to kick on when you want it to kick on. It's kind of the whole point, right?
They're built with robust design, but I tell people it's like having a car sit parked for a year and a half, and then the day you need it most, trying to just fire it on. It's something you got to be a little smarter about. Understand it comes with ongoing costs to make sure it's primed and ready. So, no, wholeheartedly agree. We got our whole team ready to go for maintenances on generators, quoting. We're right in the process now where we start to get a lot of calls when we have fallen trees and people are out. In my opinion, you're lucky if your power outage is out and returns same day. My time escapes me for that. That was last year, the year before, where Sun Valley was down for a week. Like it was like 6 days or something. Some parts.
Time.
Yeah, it's a crazy long time.
Depending on where you're at, it can be awful.
Yeah, and from our perspective, sometimes people have the connotation like, oh, I want to keep my lights on. Like, yes, that's important. From our perspective, it's heat. We want to make sure that heat is retained in the house when your power goes out, because the worst things happen when heat is shut off, including plumbing leaks, burst pipes.
It just starts a cascading
It
effect
does.
of
And
problems. Yeah.
it's very, very nice for the people who did invest in one. They're always quite thankful when it happens. And it's like, yeah, our kids were playing video games while we waited for the power to come on 2 days later. And that's exactly the answer we want to hear when we install them.
A lot of times the power is out when it's freezing cold, not just because it's storm season, but like we've noticed, you get these weird ice storms. When you get those ice storms, you just see branches going all over. All over.
The most precarious places to get hit are the exact same places we can't get vehicles to. And I try and tap people on the shoulder and say, you're the prime candidate, because if your power goes out, not only can I not get an HVAC technician out in a van, the PSC guys can barely get out there. So it's definitely by no means a cheap investment in the home, but every person that we've talked to that uses one, they're like,
And never
I'd
go
never
back.
go back. Nope. This
Yeah.
is worth having relative to the cost of stuff you lose by not having it at home. And I think that's the big part that you and I look at is like, okay, so you're here for a generator. Here's the cost of a burst pipe. This is what we want to prevent. Not even talking about the comfort side. It's pretty nice to be comfortable when your power goes out in the middle of the mountains or the fields over in Everson. So
Another thing to keep in mind with generators, you don't have to go all in.
Yep.
Like there are options out there. You could get a full standby generator. That's going to range anywhere from $12,000 all the way up to $25,000, depending on what system you want,
Yep.
how big the load is in the house, and what you're wanting it to do. If you're a person like me that's like, I want everything to work.
Yep.
That's going to be a different bill that you can expect for that than somebody that says, no, I just want my
want my
fridge,
heat.
I want my lights, and I want my heat to work.
Yep.
Like there are so many options. So another thing to keep in mind, you don't need a fancy standby generator. If you are a person that's willing to cart a generator outside, get it running, hook it into your actual panel, and then flip over.
Yep.
We have like manual options for that.
Yep.
That's called the generator plug. It's basically a 3-prong plug that goes outside. You just hook it up, get the generator to run. That's going to run you probably between $1,000, maybe $1,500 to have us do that. Could be even less if we're already there.
Yep.
Just, it's a big deal. And you can go get a Honda generator from Hardware Sales for $4,000. And so now we're talking $5,000 versus $12,000. So again, there are options out there for cheaper alternatives.
Yep.
They're probably not going to run everything, but just keep that in mind. So many different options out there. Best thing you could ever do is have an electrician come out and do a load calculation on the house.
100%.
That's going to tell them
Yep.
how much power you're going to draw, what circuits you can run on what size generator. Because if you just go out and buy a 5 kilowatt generator and you don't know what it's going to run, you could run into all sorts of problems. Not only it's not going to work when you go to use it, but you could be big safety issues.
Yep.
Big safety issues.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. Downside to those generators, they're only going to run so many hours before you got to go put gas in them.
Yep.
Historically, not as reliable.
Yep.
And the type of power that they produce is not as clean.
Yep.
It's not going to be as good for your appliances. And on some appliances, it can actually cause some
Fluctuation.
some issues. So if
Yep.
you're going to get a standby generator, don't go cheap. Don't go to Harbor Freight and get the cheapest generator you can get. Don't get a Craigslist find. Go to Carl's Mower and Saw in Ferndale here. Go to Hardware Sales. They've got good Honda generators that you can
Yep.
get that produce a clean sine wave. So
I would agree with you, though. Consult with a professional electrician first.
Yes.
We'll walk you through
That's
the
step one.
process. It always comes back. I had a story with a gentleman who did a generator like that, like a hook in and a manual transfer switch. He knew how to turn it on and operate it. And then he was away on work the week it happened.
yes,
And
that is the worst.
It is the worst. And he's trying to walk his wife through turning
Yeah.
on everything. She's terrified. He's terrified. You're dealing with a 200 amp panel. So there's pros and cons. If you're willing to do that and save dollars, great solution for you. If you want that thing to just kick on in the absence of power, here's the other solution.
And
for
be
you. So,
historically quite a bit more reliable.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, people use it. I mean, it's an asset to the house too. Like you will get your money back. Like we deal with this on the heat pump side, smart fixtures, just like you did in your kitchen. If you got a really nice range stove and fridge, I get to say the same thing about a really nice 1-year-old generator ready to go for your new house out in the woods and the sticks.
Yeah.
Super vital stuff. So no, it's good to know on that front. The other thing we should maybe talk about for just a quick second, because I do think it's important, is smoke and CO detectors. It's something that we truly care about in our line of work because obviously any combustion equipment that's heating your house is of utmost importance to us. So as far as keeping batteries and everything, what would you say is recommendation to watch, keep an eye on, for the people that need to think about it? Because no one's really thinking about it till it's a problem.
Yeah. Well, two things. Very, very important that you have smoke detectors and CO detectors. A lot of people don't.
Yep.
So that's number one. If you don't have anything, you can call an alarm company. You can call us. Our electricians can go out and look at them. But at the very least, do something.
Yeah.
Do something. If you have existing smoke detectors and CO detectors, if you look at them and you notice that they're yellow and not white anymore, That's actually molded into the plastic as an indicator to you to know that it's time to replace that. So if you start to see them turn yellow, the manufacturer is basically saying, hey, it's time to replace this thing. It's met expiration date. So keep that in mind too. Not a lot of people know that.
That's true.
There's a massive difference between hardwired smoke
Correct.
detectors and CO detectors. That's going to be more of an electrician,
Yep.
and just battery powered.
Yep.
Nothing wrong with battery powered. You do need to maintain the batteries, or you're
Yep.
going to hear that annoying beeping sound that everybody hates, right?
Absolutely. And if you're lucky, obviously a CO detector, typically floor level or down low. But if you got that, fire, and it's not fire, but like the detector up on the ceiling and it's 20 feet high, I can personally attest to this. The last thing you want to be doing is getting on a ladder 20 feet in the air after hearing the thing chirp at 2 a.m.
You know what we find a lot of the time is
Yeah.
that somebody got annoyed and took the battery out and never put it back in.
Guilty.
So that's the other thing. I
I've done
think
that.
we're all guilty of that to some extent. But just if you've got them, go through, just replace all the
Yeah.
batteries at the beginning of the year. If you don't have a carbon monoxide detector and you have any gas burning appliance in your house, whether it's a water heater, furnace, even your range, get one put in.
Yep.
Get one put in. And you can ask us where the best place is. Like if your furnace was in a mechanical room, I'd probably tell you you'd want one there at least. And having them in the bedrooms.
Yep.
Okay. It's a
Core.
really, really big deal that you don't have them just, well, I put it next to the furnace. That should be good enough. No, where it's going to cause problems. And this is real. We've had this happen to this community where people are sleeping, carbon monoxide leaks in the house, and people die.
Yep.
So it's a really big deal. And that's when it's going to get you, is when you're sleeping. You don't know it. You don't know that you're starting to feel sick or dizzy or any of these symptoms are happening. So having those in the bedroom, super big deal. They make all sorts of them. Lowe's, Home Depot, wherever, Amazon. I would recommend getting ones that go into the outlets.
Yep.
So that you actually have live power there. You don't need to run a circuit for it.
Yep.
And
They'll have
get
a
a-
little monitor so you can
get
see it at all
a
times.
good brand too. That's the other thing I'll say is the cheap brands, they don't go off till like 1,000 or 4,000 parts per million. I almost couldn't believe it. That's a high number.
Yep.
1,000 to 4,000 is a really high number. To put that into perspective, if we see that inside the exhaust of the furnace, not even like going into the duct system, if we see over 300, it's like a big red flag. Like we shouldn't even operate this furnace because there's a chance it could get in that duct system. So, and if we see 1 part per million in the duct system, we're shutting that thing down.
Yep.
So make sure you get a good brand, reputable brand, and make sure you read at what level, what part per million it's going to go off of.
Yep.
And I'd recommend anything like 400 parts per million and under.
I was just going to say, I thought I was looking at ones where the threshold was 500. I can't imagine anything higher than that.
Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm thinking 1,000, you're thinking 100, but
Yeah.
something as low as you can get, like invest the money.
Yep.
You might be going from $30 to $50. We're not talking huge dollars here, but
And we should
get
talk
the good
'cause
ones.
I think the average person thinks monoxide, they know it's a danger. They know it can be lethal, but they don't actually know what it's caused from. All the heating equipment, including your water system, your water heater, and your heating has sealed combustion systems.
Yeah.
Anytime you have a permeation in a sealed combustion system, whether it's a vent pipe that's detached or a hole in your heat exchanger, anything that can leak out exhaust is the main culprit. And as guys that look at equipment daily, it's far more prevalent than it's like anyone's car. You're going to find drips of oil. So it's stuff that we tackle, but at worst case scenario, you should have an alarm always.
I can tell you a couple of carbon monoxide stories, but we had a customer once where their chimney plugged up. And again, we're talking kind of worst case scenario aside from death, which does happen. But we had one where it plugged up the chimney and it was just an old house, old system, no CO detectors. Well, a couple of her pets died and one of them went blind and she got really, really sick and she ended up in the hospital for days. So really, again, not something to mess around with. In this case, you want to know what happened there. The chimney that had been there for hundreds of years, just enough of the brick cascaded off the inside of the chimney and plugged it.
Yep.
And the furnace just kept running.
Yep.
Because it's older. It didn't quite have the safety mechanisms built into it to shut it down. And that's all it took. Yep. Something totally out of your control, out of sight, out of mind,
Yeah.
and you don't know.
No, it only adds to the prevalence that I don't say this as a business. I say this as a part of the community. Call a qualified technician to come evaluate the systems in your
Yeah.
house to make sure, especially if you haven't done it in a long time. I get almost sick when I come into a furnace. I can tell that it hasn't been maintained in more than 10 years, and it's just a total, for lack of a better term, a shit show. And
Yeah.
it's like you're very lucky that this hasn't burned your house down or killed you, so to
Yeah.
speak. So we could take it serious. Please give us a call on any front of that. So as we lead into October, we're kind of getting ready for winter. We're already feeling the brunt of phone calls, which is why we want to come chat a little bit with the people that listen to this. We're going to use some of these clips to help educate people who we're talking to.
Yep.
Anything else you're looking forward to for the month of October?
No, I think we're in heating season.
Yep.
We are in full blown heating season. It's going to ramp up from here, and if you have not made that phone call and had that maintenance done or had that thing checked, we'd be happy to help. We live in a great community. We are competitors with other people, but there are a lot of great businesses out there. It doesn't need to be us, but do something. Have that check done.
Yep.
Have that professional come out and look at everything. It's a low cost way for you to make sure that your investment is safe and make sure that your family's safe. So
Yeah, and it makes sure that you're not standing in the long line when we hit one of the first true cold days when everyone's system's under duress and being pushed a little hard, and we can almost count on it. There's going to be one day that comes up. My guess and your guess, maybe last week of November or
last
something
week
like
in
that.
November. Yep.
And we just get absolutely punched with, I'm not joking when I say 400 phone calls in a day of people saying, I have no heat. Please help me now. And it's like, if we could have just worked on this in September, October, it would have been a lot less severe. But, well, we appreciate you guys listening in. Once again, give us a call here at Mars Heating, AC, Plumbing, and Electrical for anything we can do in any one of the categories. We'd be happy to come out to your house and evaluate any system you have for any safety concerns and just proper operation.
Yeah. And feel free to shoot us an email, just info@marsheating.com. We are not above answering anybody's questions, customer, not customer. We don't care. So send us a picture, shoot us an email. Happy to help.
Yep. One last thing that we want to talk about here at Mars real quickly before we let you guys go. We invested in a very great tool on our website, marsheating.com. If you want to get kind of a ballpark idea of what a heating solution or a cooling solution would be for your home, you can plug in your address, the home, and it'll auto-populate details that it knows from the assessor's guide. And it can kind of give you a ballpark for what you'd be looking at for maybe a basic furnace or a high-end furnace or a heat pump, air conditioning. We always welcome your calls. You give us a shout and kind of ask us some questions, but this allows you, if you're hanging on the couch, just to get an idea, what would it cost to go from my 22-year-old furnace to a heat pump for my home? You don't even have to call. You go on our website, enter a few details, and it'll tell you all that information for an option A, B, C, and it's a great tool. I like
there
using
are
it.
now water heaters are on there now as well. So for people looking,
Yep.
what does a water heater cost? Answer a couple questions. It's going to give you numbers.
Yeah.
We just want people to be educated. So
Yeah, do some sticker shopping for what you think would work well for your
Yep.
home, and then we have a qualified professional help when you're ready. So by all means, use the tool. We appreciate your time today, and give us a shout with any questions we can ever help with. Have a great one, guys. See you later.